Welcome to Sober.Coffee, a weekly coffee chat sharing experience, strength, and hope for anyone on the sober road to recovery. You can download Sober.Coffee weekly on all podcast platforms and check us out on Instagram at Sober.Coffee Podcast and on Twitter at Sober.Coffee Pod. To learn more about us and to help support these sessions, visit online at Sober.Coffee. Here are your hosts, two guys on their own path to recovery, Mike and Glenn. Let's join them at the coffee shop.
Correction needed there. We have the trifecta of love here at the coffee shop this morning.
Love it, love it.
Yeah. So we got Mike Glenn and our friend Karen.
Hey, welcome, Karen.
Happy to be back. How you guys
Pull
doing?
up a chair.
Yeah, it's great to have you. Great to have you. We're going to dig into step 6 today. So,
Is that my favorite one, Mike?
oh my goodness, here we go again. How can one man have 12 favorite
favorites.
steps?
Hey, that's how it works.
We're going to start rating them by number. Right, so step 6, we're entirely ready to have God remove all these defects of character. That's a loaded statement right there, right?
Well, it was for me because I didn't really realize I had any defects until this step. I mean, I knew I was paralyzed with alcohol. My life was unmanageable, to use a very positive word. It was more disastrous. But yeah, I mean, hey, I went through most of my life thinking I was God.
Right,
You know, so I wasn't really aware. I know you're the same way, and you know, Karen, I'm looking forward to hearing your thoughts on defects. But as far as as I kick this off, I didn't really know what a defect was, right? A lot of my actions and the way I looked at things were my survival mode. It was my way to win. I manipulated. I was really good at lying, scheming. And from a lot of the world perspective, they look at results. And they're like, hey man, this guy's really successful. But I mean, it was how I was doing it, and that's where I started realizing that I had some defects.
Right. For me, I thought I only had one really coming into the program. I thought I had a good control on all my life.
Can't wait to hear what this one is.
Well, except for that silly little alcohol thing. I realized that was a defect, a problem. But I thought all the other things, I thought I was all in check with. It wasn't until really working the program fearlessly and thoroughly that I began to realize that, I had some character defects that I had to address.
I see that with a lot of people, and I felt the same way when I got here. Like, well, I'm a good person. I'm nice. I treat everybody well. I just drink a little too much.
Sure.
And I think that's common. And it wasn't like arrogant, like there's nothing wrong with me. I was ignorant. I truly did not know all of these things that needed work when I got here.
Right.
Imagine how surprised I was to find out.
Just imagine. That was me. Yeah, I think doing the fourth step began to open my eyes to just what kind of junk I had in my trunk, and the process of going through step 6 and really embracing what those defects were was life-changing for me. So yeah, Glenn, it's one of my favorite steps as well.
Yeah, and when going through, I mean, as I look at, how I operated my whole life, and Karen, we heard a little bit of your story, and, we're very similar. We didn't, wake up when we were 12 and start, pounding shots. We waited till later in life, and, I was probably, well into my career when I started drinking, right? But so I had a lot of these defects, but again, they were applauded by a lot of people. The world applauds,
Life skills.
Yeah, totally. And what I realized is when I had defects, and they came up, the selfishness and, arrogance, and, I used money to cover up a lot of stuff. A lot of my mistakes, I just used money. If I was an asshole to somebody, I just tip them more, and, it was a terrible cycle to be in. And hey, we're entirely ready. I had to look at that because a lot of my character defects, were very effective for me.
Mm-hmm.
So now that was the change thing. I'm like, okay, if I start living without this, I've got to find something else to take its place. I have to find a different way to live.
That's right. If I can't manipulate, which was really what my self-awareness was that I was a manipulator. And not only did I manipulate those around me, but I manipulated myself into thinking that my actions were right. I mean, it was really aggressive manipulation on my part, both internally and externally. And yeah, so dealing with that. But the one thing that really jumps out at me is that, again, these steps, I was guided by my sponsor to take each one of these steps and do them fearlessly and thoroughly. And so he asked me in my journey to not only take the inventory that I captured in step 4, but then go through a long list of possible potential character defects.
Oh, I know that list.
Oh boy! And
it's like 2 sides of the paper,
it's
right?
2 sides of the paper.
Yes.
Well, let me just clarify.
Okay.
So I have a list in front of me.
Yes.
There's 194 on this list. Character
Possible.
defects.
Yeah, I'm working.
Well,
with
I didn't have all. I think I had 186 of them.
Overachiever.
Awesome. That's awesome.
So, I think for me, by the time I got to 6, after doing a thorough 4-step and actually being made aware of these things that were, I don't even want to say wrong with me. I just want to say they were characteristics that didn't serve me well.
I love how you just put that.
So you know what?
I love it.
I'm not defective. There's nothing wrong with me. These things are still in me. They're just not outward and present all the time anymore. You know, because even when they're gone, they're never really gone. They come back, and that's why it's a continuous process. That's why it doesn't end. But once I was made aware of them in the 4th step and was actually able to talk about some of them in a 5th step, by the time I got to 6, you know, for me, it's the one question: am I ready to change? I had to be willing to truly change. So they tell us in the I don't know if it's in the 12 and 12 or in the big book that, you know what, if you're not yet willing, just start trying to become willing and keep trying. Just keep trying until you are. That's what the step is about.
So one of the things, if I just heard you correctly, one of the things that we do to focus on strength, right? What do? It's the willingness. You know,
absolutely.
It almost sounds like that's a starting.
All about willing.
Game. Well, you know, frankly, I'm looking at the list right here. I'm a little distracted because there's still a lot that, you know, I'm still in the process. So, you know, Karen, for you, Mike, for you, I mean, was step 6, you know, a light switch, or how did you process the change?
Definitely not a light switch.
No, not a light switch.
And some of it comes back. You know, even after a 7th step, when I ask God to remove these defects, we'll call them, they come back. There's different point. You know, I'm in a different place in my life every day. So when I'm spiritually fit, less of these things are present or are visible in my life.
Right.
When I'm not spiritually fit,
boy,
that's when they come out. So
Sure.
there's a difference. So I negotiate for a living. There's a difference in being a shrewd negotiator and a stubborn ass. You know, there's a difference. And the hard part sometimes is what we would consider a defect. You know, there may be something similar to that that's okay, that's not hurting me. So
Or others.
Right. I mean, being a shrewd negotiator is a good thing. It's not hurting anybody. It's part of the business world. So sometimes I have to think and really be clear about, is this serving me or is it not? Is this appropriate? Is it hurting anybody? Sometimes there's a lot more thought that needs to go into it, but it definitely was not a one and done, and it didn't happen at one time.
Have you found that you've gone from knee-jerk to kind of pause and think about it and then proceed? Or do you still instinctively respond in a way after 6 and 7, after doing
I would love
7?
to say that I always pause and pray and proceed.
That's very proper.
All right. My MO, I lose it first. I just go crazy. I lose my shit, and then I turn around and, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry.
Right.
And I'm getting better at that.
Right.
For example, my business partner is hang on a minute. And I always give the example of the typing. We'll be in the office, and when I'm mad at someone, I type, and I type louder.
Like Keith Moon on the drums.
Exactly. So I'll type louder and faster. And from across the room, I'll hear, "Don't send it."
Because
he knows that's how I am. And so I'm learning from him, and I learn from people in the program. And my husband is a super mild-mannered dude. I learn from him. But it's still I'm better. I'm getting better at it. I'm working at it. I've been working at it for over 20 years. But some things are tougher than others to give up.
Right.
So, Mikey, how about you, man? Was it a light switch? Was it a process?
Absolutely a process again.
And you have gotten rid of all your defects, right?
I've still got about 193 I'm working on right now. I got rid of the one, but
keep coming back.
Yeah, keep coming back. I love that. Awesome. It hasn't, but I'll tell you, when we get to the hope segment here, it's been very rewarding because what I was taught is that I can take the inventory, and again, 6, 7 are kind of combination steps, right? And so as I was writing my inventory, I knew that I was going to be turning those over to my higher power in 7, and so I kind of battled with them a little bit, but then kind of put them in the bucket of I'll deal with that in step 7. So there was a transition for me. But I felt confident after I'd gone through inventory, after I'd reviewed lists like that awesome list of 194 things, that I at least had a good handle on what my inventory of character defects were and was prepared to move on to step 7. So yeah, there was a line in the sand for me in between 6 and 7, which I really appreciated the guidance from my sponsor on that.
Yeah, I just love sitting down and having coffee with you guys because it helps me. Right. And so, as I'm sitting here, I like to think of the 10 commandments, right? Hey, short list of 10, right? And I'm doing pretty good on that list.
Right.
But when you look at the list of 194,
not so much.
In fact, we'll post that in the resource section. But when I look at the list of 194, I still have work to do. And, frankly, I wasn't really ready to have God remove all the defects. I still like some of them.
Right.
Some of them served me really well.
Right.
But through the process, and that's why I love our phrase that we use: progress, not perfection. Right. So as I look at the list of 194, I'm not hanging myself because I'm still screwing up on some. I give myself some latitude. It is a work in process, but it's nice to see a list.
Well, the thing with that list, it's helpful. It doesn't have to be, am I this, am I that? It doesn't have to be so cut and dried. It's
like a sliding scale.
Right.
I can rate myself on each of them. It's just meant to be a tool to kind of jog my memory. Like, you know what?
Awareness.
I didn't think I was that, but maybe I am a little bit of that sometimes. Right. So it's just about exactly self-awareness. It's just a tool to kind of get the juices flowing about things that I might want to take a look at. And as you read through the list, if something pokes at you, stop and give it a little more thought. That might be something worth looking at.
Right. Karen, you've got a few more days of sobriety than myself, but through your experience, why is step 6 and 7? Why are they so important to sobriety?
When I become a better person, when I can get rid of the things that are these defects, these issues, these characteristics, they stand in between me and God. They stand between me and you. So by eliminating these things in my life that are not serving me well, it allows me to get out of myself and move toward other people and closer to God. And it lets me be of maximum service to God and others. That's the whole goal. And these things are walls. They just pile up one on top of another until finally I'm on one side by myself and the rest of the world's over there. And I'm over here by myself. So the whole process has been taking that wall down and letting people in. Because, we're here to help each other. You can't help me if I don't let you know where I am. If I show up at a meeting every day for a month and I never share and I don't let you know what's going on with me, I could be struggling so badly inside, and if I don't tell you, you can't help me if I don't let you in. So these steps they make it's kind of like it almost feels like you strip down like naked, like raw, like here it is, this is me, this
is the word raw.
This is who I am. And it's so freeing to be able to say, here I am.
Right.
Take it or leave it. This is me. It's very, very freeing to let go of that.
Well, I love that response because, I mean, there is nothing more important to me than my sobriety. And I need to understand from those that have gone in front of me in their journey, in their road to recovery, I just need to understand the importance, have it reiterated to me, the importance of thoroughly, working these steps because I just don't ever want to go back there again.
After looking at these things in me, how could you not? How can I not want to get rid of them?
Right.
But it's hard. Like you said, some of them.
Hey, some of them, I'm telling you, some of them very effective. In the moment. It's not effective in the big picture. It's not effective for my peace, or serenity or my joy or happiness or all those fun words. But for what I wanted to accomplish in the moment based on my selfish focus and desires, they were very effective. And just chatting about hope a little bit here, as I've shared before, I am very clearly living in the right fairway today, and so I have a keen awareness when I'm in the rough, when I'm getting close to OB, or when I'm out of bounds. And there's a lot of head trash that is associated with that. So as I look and still use and still have some of these defects, it messes with my head. It messes with my peace. I know I'm doing something I'm not supposed to. I'm judging somebody. I know I'm judging somebody, and that's head trash, right? But when I focus and committed to step 6, now I can make better decisions, right? I make less mistakes, which leads to less emotional weight, right? Due to my defective living, right? So I get better results. I get better peace, better relationships, better everything. But for me, and I'm looking forward to going back on this 194, and with the guys that I work with, we're going to spend some time on this because I think it's the awareness. I think it's, hey, let's stay on top of this. Let's not do step 6, step 7, check it off and move on. But let's have this being a continued living, breathing part of the program that we're, continually willing, and ready to get rid of this stuff.
Well, you talk about the emotional weight. So for the people listening who have not gotten to this point yet or who are hesitant to take these steps, if you're not walking around, or I'll speak in terms of me, if I'm not walking around carrying that emotional weight, because when I carry that weight, I'm focused on that and myself. When I'm not carrying that emotional weight around, now I can focus on the people in my life. I can focus on my relationship with God. I don't have to worry and focus on all that crap that I'm bringing forward with me. So if I leave it, if I work on it, knowing, of course, that it does come back. And sometimes it's hard. Like to be stubborn is not a good trait. If I'm talking about at home and I've done something wrong and I'm not apologizing. No way. He shouldn't have done that. I'm not apologizing. And to not give in there, to be stubborn like that is not a good trait. However, in the business world, if I'm in a negotiation, to not give in first might be a good trait. Right. So sometimes it's hard because the opposite of that defect or there could be a parallel to the defect that is not harmful. Right. So, over time you learn that, but I'm still learning, that's for sure.
Hey, since we're parked on step 6, I really want to give a shout out to a book called Drop the Rock. Drop the Rock is a great resource that was introduced to me, and it talks about that emotional weight. It talks about carrying that weight when you're trying to swim in the water, and you're carrying that weight of that emotion. We'll put it up in the resource room, but Drop the Rock is a great book for step 6 and 7.
Fantastic.
Awesome.
Fantastic.
All right.
Well, here's the funny thing. I just want to finish with this because I know we're at the last drop of coffee here. I get better results when it's just amazing because I thought I was awesome. But I get better results when I have less defects of character.
And I have better purpose in my life when I'm properly aligned. That's what I'm learning.
It's not, when those things are tucked away where they belong and they've been dealt with correctly and at the right time and under the guidance of my sponsor, and I tuck those things away, and God removes them for me, then I'm free to focus. I'm free to focus on that which really matters.
All right. Will you come back and talk about step 7 with us?
Sure.
Definitely.
You buying?
Every day.
Always.
All right. All right,
Thank
then
you,
I'll come
Karen.
back.
Bring it on. Thanks,
Excellent.
Karen.
Thanks.
Love you.
Bye, guys.
Thanks for joining us for today's coffee chat. To contact the show, email us at podcast@sober.coffee. If you need immediate help, the AA hotline is 800-839-1686. The National Suicide Prevention Hotline is 800-273-8255. Remember, Mike and Glenn are sharing their own journey on the path to recovery. Any suggestions, medical or otherwise, are their own experiences and should not be viewed as professional advice. See you next week, and remember, there is a solution.
Stay safe in the city of Chicago. Beautiful city.